Okay, so this article came out a couple months ago, but this is very big news, and I don't know how it slipped by a lot of people to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. And this is great news for manga fans and the manga industry as a whole. I am so happy to hear this. Now, there's been a lot of, speculation, a lot of people wondering, because a lot of people aren't really in tune with sales numbers and whatnot, but where does the manga industry fare against the comic book industry? The comic book industry, let's be clear here, as far as like the movie adaptations that they have, it's been for years upon years, superhero movies or hero movies in general, those type of films from DC and Marvel have become a huge sensation. The Spider-Mans, the Avengers, all of that stuff has been humongous and very successful. But based on this news, it seems as though it's not necessarily trickling down to comic book sales. It seems as though those live action adaptations sell a lot of things, but they don't really boost comic numbers. And if they are, then that means that there's not really that much of a high demand, aside from, of course, the hardcore comic collectors or the casual comic collectors, to actually get into comics based on these numbers that we hear. Now, the sales for manga aren't the most exciting and big either, but with this announcement, apparently manga is outselling comic books in America, people. That's right. Apparently manga is outselling comic books, mainly due to, or in a very big part way, Viz Media. Viz Media is doing big things, and again, we're gonna read the article and everything, but I am just so happy to see how far we've come. I believe there was a time, and I think in this article as well, there's a quote. There was a time when people used to say like, yo, manga, those Japanese comic books, I'm out of here, pa. I want my Superman, I want my Batman, I want my X-Men and shit like that. There was a time where that was a thing. People looked at it, and there still is people like that. Like, they don't mess with manga. They love their comic books. Because I used to be a comic book guy myself. I really loved, especially the animated versions of it. I was a big fan of it, but I also collected comics. Just, I liked having them. I think they look cool as shit or whatever. So, there's a big divide between the two of them. But let's read this article, and then you'll understand a little bit more of why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, all happy and shit. Viz manga sales are destroying DC and Marvel in the comic market. New York City Comic Con is a great place to see the latest comics and catch up with your favorite artists. While fans enjoy festivities, many retailers and industry members join panels to learn the latest trends in the marketplace. Journalist Heidi McDonald of Comics Beat took to Twitter to share some revelations and changes that the industry is undergoing. First, Viz Media is quickly becoming a big game player as they have overtaken DC and Marvel. And it's strange, thinking that 10 years ago, insiders were claiming that manga couldn't grab an audience in the States due to rampant piracy. Which you guys know on this channel, we've discussed and we've tackled piracy a lot, and a lot of the things surrounding it and all of that stuff. So it is interesting that with manga being a very pirated thing, anime and manga very, very pirated, that it's thriving like this. That's good shit, but let's keep reading. In the book channel, Viz is the biggest publisher with a 23% market share. DC has 14, Marvel has 10, and others 25. So essentially, if you look at others and everything, just looking at this little graph real quick, manga from Viz alone, just Viz, not including, the other ones, that's 23%. DC and Marvel combined just barely passed Viz. So you gotta combine Marvel and DC together to take out Viz, but by themselves, Viz easily is a monster compared to them. That's freaking crazy. The broad picture painted is that the graphic novel audience is getting younger thanks to chain retailers Target and Walmart, online marketplaces, and book fairs. Basically, younger people have more access to graphic novels and are buying them, in contrast to older fans. Kids are discovering graphic novels in Targets and book fairs, leading to a whole new audience for the medium. Another big thing is how people are buying graphic novels, comics, and manga. Specialty shops are becoming a dying breed as shoppers flock to chain retailers and online shops like Comixology. I personally use Amazon, or Right Stuff, but I've heard of Comixology. I think that's a digital platform if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot of information there. I'll have the full article linked in the description below so you can check out about female readers and all sorts of things. But Viz alone, 23% of the market. DC is what, 10 or something like that? Marvel's like 14 or vice versa, something like that. That's crazy. Not to mention, there's still Kodansha. There's quite a few other manga publishers out there that aren't grouped with Viz, because Kodansha, if I'm not mistaken, they have Attack on Titan, which is huge. You combine Kodansha with Viz, I bet you anything is way bigger than Marvel and DC combined, because it's only 1%, you know what I'm saying? So absolute insanity. It shows a change, and it also shows that sometimes you could have the biggest piece of marketing. You know what I'm saying? What is a bigger marketing ploy to sell, let's just say, these comics, than having live action adaptations of them? But the thing is that the culture is so weird that the movies are acceptable. It is acceptable to go see the Justice League, Superman, Batman in theaters. You can take your girl, you can go with your friends. It's socially acceptable now, but it's not necessarily socially acceptable to go pick up the Batman, Superman, Wolverine, whatever comic books. You know, that's still kind of a little, to a smaller degree, frowned upon. Kind of interesting. I think all of this information, I love hearing about all these numbers where it comes from different companies or whatever. I think we're doing the right thing. I think a lot of this does attribute, though, to the success of a small select amount of series. I think we've had quite a few small hitters or pretty big hitters, like, you know, One Punch Man, My Hero Academia. A lot of those series that they had, those big anime that blew up seasonally, are helping to sell, which again, it makes me wonder what Kodansha's numbers is looking like, because Attack on Titan is one of the biggest selling manga in North America right now, from what I've seen or whatever. So Attack on Titan, One Punch Man, My Hero Academia, One Piece, all of those series that are coming out right now. I don't know if Boruto's selling too well, to be honest with you, but all of those series are definitely the biggest reasons why this is happening. And again, it's crazy to see. I wonder in another 5 years if this will continue and the trend will go to the point where Viz is doing 50% of the market or something like that. Depending on how many hits we have within the next 5 years, if we get more One Punch Mans, we get more My Hero Academias, we get more Tokyo Ghouls. Tokyo Ghouls, another big seller over here in the West. If we get more of those hitters, I think in the next 5 years it'll just be even worse. And it's crazy, which also showcases the huge possibility and why they're doing things. I think these numbers really correlate up. For example, why are there so many live action adaptations of anime and manga coming out nowadays? Because the numbers are rising. You know what I'm saying? It's like they see the potential. They see that the audience is there. They just have to bring it in a proper way to the big screen, which is something that all these companies always drop the ball at when they're trying to do it. But honestly, numbers is crazy. I'm really curious what you guys think about this. For starters, why do you think there's no correlation if these big superhero films, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, all of them, if they are, you know, doing hundreds of millions of dollars in the box office, why aren't the comics flying off the shelves? Is it because of what I said, where movies are acceptable, they're socially acceptable, but when it comes to the comic books, people frown upon them? Is that the reason? Is it just because they're so in different worlds, essentially? It's two different experiences. A comic book, you know, you gotta read, and a lot of people just don't like reading. Do you think that's the reason? And why do you think the anime and manga, or the manga side in particular, is doing so well and flourishing? I personally attribute it, again, to all these seasonal successes like Tokyo Ghoul and One Punch Man. I think the seasonal approach has changed things a lot, where, okay, you know, you had the Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, and they were dominating for a while. Now you have like 10 of those that are seasonals, and I think it's only going to get better from here. Great stuff here. Really curious you guys' perspective on just this whole thing. How do you feel knowing that our little fucking hobby, our little thing that we love, manga, is outdoing the big boys like Marvel and DC? That gets me hype and gives me a little bit of a wee bit of a nerd boner, mate. I gotta kind of ask this question, though, or throw this out there as well. When you see these numbers and you see that, again, manga is outselling comic books by a large margin, why does it not necessarily feel like that in the media? Again, I think that attributes to a different industry, and that's the movie industry. Because you see the big Batman movies and the big Justice League and Avengers and all that shit. You don't see the big Dragon Ball, big Naruto movies out in theaters. So I think that's one of the big reasons also why it's more socially acceptable, because that's already a big thing with pop culture. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of it. Anime and manga, Dragon Ball is somewhat in there, likewise with Naruto, and I think as a niche hobby, it's become a little bit more acceptable. But again, it's just all, it's crazy. It's interesting to see that manga is outdoing comic books. That's insane. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say, or enjoy the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and do a little stalking on my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Bow. Have an awesome day.